Hello, I'm ADRIAN, and this is the introductory video to your training day on finance. Now, you're sitting here and watching this because you're signed up to the support program from Big Local Works on the Make It Blue Market Stalls initiative. You're all people who have an idea to get out there in the world, to show off just how great you are in making things, designing things, creating things, and using those to earn a living from, which is fantastic. The idea of this short introductory video is just to set the scene really for today's content and how it goes through. And I'm afraid the opening word finance has already put you off a bit. And I think that's probably because a lot of us, when we talk about finance in business and accounts, things like that, it's a bit like when we're sitting down to a lovely big dinner and we see the plate and the Yorkshire puddings are there and the sausages are there and the stuffing's there and the gravy's there, and then there's some vegetables. And we know the vegetables are important. We know they're good for us. We know we have to have them, but you would rather not if we could help it. So they're a bit of a kind of a necessary evil in some ways. However, having said that, some of you are probably vegetarians or vegans and I've already massively upset or offended you. So whatever the analogy would be for you in terms of it's not vegetables at dinner, it's something else, please insert that here. And hopefully I haven't put you off too much already. Like I say, so this is the introduction to a program that you're already part of with Make It Blue, being led by Big Local Works, also with support from Unltd, the foundation who support social and community entrepreneurs, and the local council. And there are doubtless other agencies and other people who you are also getting a supporting, lending, helping hand from as well through this. But the question is always, you're here, you're part of the program, you're becoming a market trader, you're getting out. Why don't you just spend more time running the market stalls? Why do you have to bother with these sorts of training and learning activities? Well, I think there's two reasons really why I think it's probably useful that you're here today. And if you know why you're here and how you can get the most out of it, you probably will find it a bit less painful or a bit less boring. And the first reason is when you're out there on the markets, you are on show. There is no hiding place. It's not like running an e-commerce store where you can simply say, oh, I'm sorry, I had a phone call, or there was a delivery, or my internet went down, or there was a power cut. Your customer is there watching you 24/7. You don't have space and time to go and check for someone else. You don't have the opportunity to go, just hold that thought, I'll just go off and have a chat with some other people to figure that out. If you can't respond to it then and there, you've had it. You've lost the confidence of the customer. So these training days are really important in giving you the space and time to build your knowledge, to build your confidence that whatever happens to you when you're on that pitch, you've got an answer. You know the best way to respond to it. The other thing about these training days as well is because on the market stall, you are getting fantastic experience. Absolutely. You know what it's like to deal with suppliers, you're finding out what it's like to work with customers, you're finding what it's like to get on with the other neighboring traders on your pitches as well. But there's other things that go on in running a market stall and running a business. So these days are here to help you think about how can you structure your time, the way that you're going to manage and run those stalls and pitches so you can get the most from this opportunity, not only during them, but then after you've done them as well, when you've got those moments of reflection to say, how did it go today? How did that conversation with the customer go? Is there something I could have done differently? What can I try next time? So these training days are a space for you to explore that and to work with it. And that's why they're important. But having bigged them all up, we've still got what seemed quite a dull, dreary subject of finance, accounts. Do I really have to do this stuff? Well, we've structured it in hopefully relatively bite-sized chunks. Okay, we've got 4 subjects that we're going through, and they're all about sort of 15 to about 25 minutes each. Okay, some of them have quizzes within them, which is fantastic. Some of them have additional materials. So you'll see there are Excel worksheets, there are pages with links to other websites that you can go and find things out on as well. But they're all geared around from the perspective of setting up as a market trader what are probably the core basics that it's useful to be thinking about. And so we've set them up. How do you know you're going to be charging the right price for what you're selling? Okay, costing and pricing. How do you make sure that you've always got enough money in hand? How many you got enough cash in hand to pay those bills and to keep things ticking over? That's about setting a budget, managing your cash. Ultimately, how do you know it's working? Just because you've got some cash in your hand does not necessarily mean you've made a profit. And there are some unusual rules that we have about how we prepare accounts, manage our finances. So we'll also cover those. And then finally, and this is the bit that most people really don't want to talk about, the tax man, HMRC. Do we have to do a tax return? If we do, how do we do it? When do we do it? Where do we do it? How do I reduce the pain of doing it? Okay, and we go through all of these subjects on the assumption that they are helping you to better understand not only why they are important, but how you can manage them yourself in practical terms. And it may be that going forward in the future, you say, you know what, I'm going to hire a bookkeeper. I'm going to pay an accountant to do this for me. And if you want to do that, that's fine. That's brilliant. But at least if you've gone through these video sessions and you've had the opportunity to reflect and discuss and to ask questions about them, when you're working with that accountant and the bookkeeper, you're more confident about what they're giving you. You know you're getting the right stuff from them as it goes through. Now, as a bit of a disclaimer, I'm afraid, as with any training course, this is not a guarantee for wild profits. Any training course or seminar or workshop you go on that says, this is guaranteed to make you money, this will guarantee to get you 500 new customers, is blowing smoke. Okay. It's not going to do that. What it will do, what these sessions will hopefully do, is if you're coming at this having never had any experience of running a market stall or running a business before, there are things that will probably trip you up because you don't know where to look for them. You don't know what you don't know. So these sessions are here to help you navigate those potholes, those things that you could fall into without realizing it, because everyone else assumes you know about them and no one thinks to tell you. Okay, so the practical tools to help you feel more confident and hopefully trip over less. So that's the introduction to these finance sessions and why we do them and why we think that they're going to be really relevant and what you'll get out of them. There is, of course, something else that's really important in this introduction that I need to tell you. You shouldn't trust me. I've recorded all of these video series. Big Local Works thinks that these are a safe pair of hands to be entrusted with your learning and your planning. But you shouldn't trust me. You shouldn't trust me because, number one, I'm not your customer. Number two, I'm not your banker. I'm not an investor or a grant-making body in your business. And number three, I'm not setting up this business with you. I'm not taking the risk that you are. So kind of, why should you trust me? I have no vested interest in this. And it's the same way that you shouldn't really trust any other business advisor or someone who's offering you support. That's not to say you should discount us. It's simply a warning sign to say, we're going to come and we're going to offer you ideas and suggestions, but it's your business. Don't be afraid to query it, to say, why is writing a business plan the best use of my time? When actually all the research that's out there, published, validated, shows us that having a business plan actually makes no difference in how likely my business is to succeed. So question it. So in the hopes of giving you a bit of confidence, though, that you can at least have some confidence in what I do, a little bit of introduction to about myself. First thing you need to know, I wasn't very good at maths at school. Okay, and I suspect if we're honest, all of us feel that we weren't that good at maths at school. And as a result, as we've kind of grown up and we're pretending to be adults now, we still don't think we're that good at maths. And I have an idea that that's not your fault. That's not my fault. It's because of how we are taught maths. So think back to when you were at school. Yeah, okay, so we're having to learn calculus, algebra, long division, simultaneous equations, cracky, and we struggled to get the concept of them. And as a result, our maths teacher, whether they meant to or not, made us feel stupid because we couldn't get it. We struggled with it. Fast forward a few years, when have most of us ever actually needed to use algebra? simultaneous equations, long divisions. In the real world, we haven't. All we really need to know in terms of finance and looking after money and budgets and tax and profits is some basic maths, some addition and some subtraction, maybe a bit of multiplication along the way. And as we go through these kind of the next set of videos that have been recorded, you'll kind of see how they work out in practice. So hopefully that gives you some confidence that if you're not feeling confident in your ability to do maths, you know what? Neither did I, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to have an A star or a grade 1 at maths to be good at managing the money in your business. The other thing that will hopefully give you some confidence is that in terms of dealing with the tax and the official and the legal side of this, HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenues and Customs, have called me up not just once, not just twice, but 3 times on suspected tax fraud, because there have been things in my tax returns that made them go, that looks a bit suspicious. Now, of course, there's all sorts of stories about this, but the kind of shortened, too long didn't read version is every time it happened, I rang them up. I had an open and honest and frank conversation, and they said, Mr. Ashton, thank you very much. We now understand it was our fault. HMRC misunderstood what I told them. HMRC got their system wrong. I was in the right, and I now have a gold star with them, or I'd like to think I do after that many goes. And in terms of what I now do in terms of finance and helping people manage the money in their business, it's not just kind of turning up with you out of the blue and going, well, okay, so he sounds like he's got a bit of experience and confidence of doing this. I run these sessions all the time elsewhere, and not just for the likes of big local works or Make It Blue in terms of market programs and initiatives. I'm also asked to train other business advisors. So other people that you will meet through other programs who offer you support and advice, I get to train them. So hopefully they're half decent. And if they're not, obviously it wasn't me who trained them, but you kind of get the idea. I also do broader work in terms of understanding the issues that you are facing as an entrepreneur and how you need to raise money. The issues you're facing in terms of your trading. If you need to borrow money, what sorts of things are going on in the world? And I use that research to actually get lending bodies, bank managers, grant making bodies to change the way that they set the terms and conditions of how they support people like you. Now, I haven't actually done any in Bermondsey just yet or across London recently, but if you're in another part of the country in the future, maybe. I'm also, on the back of that, invited to sit and judge people's applications if they're applying for a grant or a loan to set up and run their business. So I know what these people are looking for. I know the sorts of questions they throw up, and that's all of the stuff that I've been drawing on when I put together these sessions for you. Ultimately as well, it might be worth mentioning in terms of market trade as well, you know, he's sitting in this little video box in the corner. He's obviously a consultant trainer type. I know what it's like to run market stalls because every few years I go out and I run some because I think it's a good habit. You can read about the stories and the reflections that I've had on them on my blog. The last one that I did though was a wintertime market where it was about -5 degrees all day. I had 3 pairs of socks, 5 sheets of cardboard, and I was gift wrapping soap boxes on the stall. So every time a customer brought a box of soap, you know, part of the deal was it was Christmas, wanted to make it look nice. So I'd have to take off all my layers of gloves and wrap these things up pretty bow as quickly as I could before my fingers went numb from the cold. So I know the realities of what it's like. So hopefully that offers you some assurance that these are indeed a safe-ish pair of hands to take you through these sessions and understanding about managing the finances in your market stall over the next few weeks.